Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy MC Far coming at you, giving another fireside live side video for trading. We are definitely tapping into our daily goals, but as it seems, today got a pretty dramatic stop out today on NVO, and we also got into a quick trade in Qualcomm to the downside. There's recently been a shift in the sentiment on the long-term trade validator. I'm going to pull that up here for you guys here. So as you guys can see, straight out the box, the trades have been, how can I say it? Going a little rough. I know last video that we did, we kind of told you what our performance for the 0 DTE strategy kind of has been. Not necessarily what we were expecting, but as we grow and we kind of stay locked in here, we're going to continue to track and monitor our trading progress to see if we can actually nail an edge, get funded. That's kind of the goal and the dream. So here out the gate, as you can see, the long-term trend on the 60-minute changed red, right? And as a result, also the it actually printed a red trigger. So we went on and took that trigger to the downside, and it has since pulled down and it's approaching our entry. So we'll see if it will bounce off VWAP or if it'll maintain that. We're still holding out for 2 to 1 with a stop loss at the pivot high, which is basically pre-market, the first ridge on the pre-market. So we'll hold off for that and see if it'll play to our favor here. But as you can note here on the 10-minute, it's already moved pretty extensively far away from that moving average. So we would essentially be looking for a continuation or even bigger play to the downside there. If you look on the weekly chart, this is a pretty substantial gap to the downside. So the idea is that with this kind of move, you're either going to let us know very quickly and stop us out, or you're going to continue and possibly even try to test the 21 or the 8 peer moving average in its movement. So that's kind of what we're trying to see here. But in following our system, we want to see if it actually does institute a follow through and give us our 2 to 1. Give us our 2 to 1 there. And kind of looking back, the first trigger for that trade was um, actually like right here. So this trade actually, the actual fire was back here in the pre-market. So I'm not sure what the rules are for that, but since we're in the open and it's double red, we went on and took it. But maybe the move has already kind of happened. I got to look back and see if that is how that works. Maybe the move is instituted from back here, and is your whole risk to reward there, and you're supposed to take it almost immediately. And I'll showcase what I'm talking about over here. So if you notice um, right here, there is a trigger to the downside at this moment in time. And then from there, it ends up rolling to the downside, which gives us our open. So potentially, this is the end, possibly the end of the trade here, and we might have got in at the end. So we'll just see if that plays out. You guys will see it firsthand. Let's see what else we got going for the day. Check some other stuff out. For our 6C, we are in the 6C as it does continue to kind of slowly drift higher. This is what we were expecting. We wanted it to slowly drift higher, and that's a good thing. Oh, you guys can't see the 6C. Sorry guys for that. If I tend to do that a lot, huh? Let's see here. Pull it up for you guys. So the 6C, this is our kind of our entry line here, and it's slowly just kind of drifting higher. and that's good for us because we're sellers here. We're basically selling puts, and if as long as it drifts higher and stays above that level, we can continue to collect premium there. It's of a wider trend here that the Canadian dollar has been maintaining this range, and so because of that, any drifts could net us pretty large results there. So we're holding out for Canadian dollar futures to continue that drift higher. Also, we've got our boy Meta. We do have a position on a Meta. We did roll here to lock in some profits, and we did take a trade last week that netted us some juicy profits. This is Monday, so it trading above our entry 2 weeks ago is pretty good, considering that it does close out this week. So we're gonna be watching Meta like a hawk to see if it can actually break its intraday range. Don't think that it might. So pulling it relatively quickly if it gets into danger so we can preserve capital will be one of the things we'll be looking to do. Yeah, like I said, the only action we had today was Meta pushing to the upside. JP Morgan also pushing to the upside. And if Qualcomm, we're still in that play, but Novo stopping us out in pretty dramatic fashion. It's like as soon as we entered, Novo basically just rolled over. So not exactly what we're looking for, but at least we know we're going to stick to our system and quickly get out as we see problems arise here. So there's Meta doing this thing. We got Qualcomm, and for those who think that you know you might say, oh, okay, well, this guy's not that good, I probably shouldn't watch him, or your system, you should trade like this. I'd say this is probably one of the hardest things that anybody can do is trading. This is probably one of the, if not the hardest professions in the world because of the stress, because of the amount of capital, the emotions involved. So because of that, finding a pretty effective system is hard for a lot of people. It's hard for a lot of people to do. So because of that very simple thing, I wouldn't say that you're seeing the real journey. It's not propped up. You're not seeing like behind the scenes. Oh, this guy's making huge amounts of money, but you don't really see who's taking the trades. You don't really see if he's actually documenting and telling you the real of it, or not. So we've got a fire. We'll take you over here. We've got a fire on the NVO again. NVO, we recently got in it, so I typically will, like, if it gives us a trigger, we're going to not trade off emotions. We're actually going to take that trade. We down here have the volume candles, but there's no volume necessarily to back it up, except for right here where it started that move at. So if there's going to be a continuation, getting these guys off sides, that'll be pretty sweet. So we'll see if they can get these guys off sides here. I'll put a alert that if it trades above there, we'll know. So we don't necessarily have to watch it all day. But you can see the four ones we're watching. JP Morgan, Meta doing great. We're still in that play. Qualcomm taking some heat. So maybe it can bounce back. If it can't, we let it go. NVO definitely crossed the break of high. So yeah, we'll take another stab at it. It might not have went the first time, but we'll take a swing at the bat. So you'll see us how we set this up. We'll go to trade here. Because it's going up, we want to go ahead and sell puts here. Puts are on the right side. So we'll sell the at the money puts and we'll buy back some at the money puts, putting it to about credit 126. And we get filled immediately. Shout out to us. So it's going to take some time. What I like to do is I like to put an arrow right here. Now, if you notice, From some of the wisdom that we've learned, we're getting in, how can I put it, slightly behind what wisdom says, right? You've got your average true range here, and um, it's at that like a 2 ATR. So we're looking for this bounce to kind of trend at the ATR and then go imbalance, and essentially have a stop out of below the pivot low. We'll put $100 to see if we can trend in that direction. We'll also come. You can't see it. I'm marking it up on Trading View here. But if we put this out here, basically where we entered, we'll put it here, and then we'll put another drop down there that represents a new trade. It kind of widens out our 2-to-1 here. So we might be biting off a little too much, but at least our stop is a pivot low. So if you can stay above this area, looking for an imbalance. If you can stay above that area, awesome. If you can't, awesome. We'll let it go. Qualcomm still staying, kind of still staying where we could see it here. So it's kind of at our entry, and we're hoping that it continues its play to the downside. We'll go over here. So Novo is actually looking like it's approaching the 2 ATR. If it goes imbalanced, that'll be exactly what we're looking for. But not seeing necessarily a big volume spike above average, but it is pushing pretty heavily in the upwards direction. So we got in, and it's deciding to take off currently. So that's a good thing. And we'll just wait it out. Glad we took this trade now, seeing it, and that's kind of what the system is for. So we'll see how it plays out, and if it goes straight and hits our 2 ATR, it could. So where are we aiming for essentially? What's this level? 143.16. So we'll kind of keep the mark at 142.60, 142.84. But this push, if it could start building market orders here, I could potentially see it drift higher. There is a likelihood that it rotates and stays in this rotation and remains choppy. So that's just something to keep in mind, not to get your hopes too high here, but just we took the trade, and if it works, awesome. If it doesn't, it is what it is. So stop this out in very beautiful fashion here. Whole moving average goes green. And if it breaks this range, which is done, if buyers really start stepping in, we could see potentially a grind higher in this one. We'll zoom out here. What potentially? So our target is definitely well within the realm of possibility, especially for intraday rotation. If we're seeing large volumes pick up here, basically from this level right here, going across, it's about where pre-market it decided to drift down into. So I'm hoping from there it has the potential to go up to 143. We'll be out well before that on 142.84 with the stop loss of 141.51. While it's doing its thing, we'll go take a look at Qualcomm. QCOM here. It's still milling around here, so that's for us. That's good because if it's approaching its fair value, we kind of got in at fair value. So we're looking for it to drift kind of to the downside. And if you see right here the expansion contraction, is showing that it's starting to expand negatively. The whole moving average is going red, so that can only be good for us. As time ticks, we have a play potentially that makes profit as it goes sideways, and as it moves in in the direction that we ideally would want it to go, which is kind of drifting downwards. Again, that came from the double red from the trend validator and the auto trend system. So shout out to it. JP Morgan slowly drifting higher, and Meta slowly drifting higher. And so Meta here slowly drifting higher from what seems to be pre-market neutral. It broke that in dramatic fashion and just kind of kept running. So we are in that trade. We've been in that trade for about 3 weeks, rolling it at some point, and then after the roll, we're just the entry is like basically right here. So that roll, I would say. So we're just letting it play out. JP Morgan, same thing. Pre-market launch. In our bid to get into Novo, we did not get into JP, and it's pretty much moved. So Novo slowly pushing to our target, and it's actually well outside of the range of this accumulation right here. So if we can get a nice juicy hit, that'd be sweet. Why do I think that it can definitely do that? From what we've seen here, there seems to be imbalances above this area that almost push up to 143.44, and on the low end, 143.13 from the previous levels, like back here, right? So if it can do that, that'd be like super zen for us, I would say. Super chill. We wanted to take some edge off here and then go out and hit our target if it can. But if it stays above this level, that's also really good for us. And with the way it pushed, not necessarily looking to take anything off the table at this time. So we'll let them play out here. Yeah, if it can just push up to there, that's what we're looking for. But if it stays above this level, we could still get maximum premium for the day. We got the trade for the basically selling premium for the end of the week, and so if you stay above this level or even have a very juicy close, like where it seems like it's out of the danger zone, we'll actually keep it. We'll keep it on, right? If it pushes into the close and it's up here, we might leave it on. Pre-market, pre and post market might be a little dicey. Like you don't want to have something where it closes here and then like outputs you here. That is a possibility, but it just kind of depends on how we get there. Yeah, if it continues to push up to our level, as I was saying, sorry guys, we could potentially hold it overnight. What we don't want to have happen is something like this, where it closes here, right, and then opens up like down here, because we have a bullish trade on. So yeah, and you guys have seen the real. The problem that I have is a lot of traders are getting exposed. They might have ghost traders or people that have helped them get funded in their challenge, what have you not. Whatever it is, you're seeing me execute these live. You're hearing it's not all roses. It is challenging, and I love it. So as we grow and learn, we use very simple systems. We follow rules. We journal. We can see where we can make improvements. And so while we're on this side, let's see what else we have going on for today. We didn't execute let's see here. We're gonna go back. We didn't execute a we didn't execute a 0 DTE trade for today. And if we take a not the monitor, sorry, not that either. There we go. Buttons everywhere. So the futures definitely launched. So you could potentially see that might be why Novo launches, because the whole market's kind of rising. Meta is in the XLC and the financials are pushing, but let's see, did XLK didn't really push. SPY did push. So yeah, very, very interesting. But a huge rally in the futures up to the weekly. So do I think it'll just break through this weekly, not without significant resistance, and a very juicy little dip here. So let's say we had put on a call debit spread or a call butterfly, probably would have seen some potential here, but yeah, it's like it was literally anyone's ball game. I couldn't say for certain that you were just gonna see it fly off the handle here. So yeah, shout out to XSP. Let's see. Light Tweet Crew, what are you doing, buddy? Yeah, same thing. Um, Nice little dip pre-market, and then this is kind of what you want to. This is kind of how you want to play this this setup. So you've got the VWAP, you got 2 ATR, and then as you see the whole moving average, it kind of dips outside of there. It's very range bound, but the whole moving average starts to go green. You could take that pivot low and take an aggressive buy, and it actually hits the whole range. So that's how ideal you would want to play it. It's not necessarily perfect, but I would take that in corresponds to, let's say, you get above average buying volume. That would be something really cool. To do that, we would want to have either the DOM or the depth of market, or looking at time to sales to be able to do that. It's a lot going on in the market, a lot going on the screen at one time, but I would say that that's ideally how you'd want to play that to execute that. I'd want to either see like a footprint chart, or even, let's say, for example, you have a delta to confirm that coming off here, and that would be a really nice trade for oil. And we actually have, oh, we don't have it pulled up. Yeah, so I don't know where my USO chart went. That would have been nice to see that on my USO chart. But yeah, I mean, you see it like, it'll go up here, get outside of the range, go red, and then at least hit VWAP outside of the range. Now he comes up here, goes red, and you get a very brief stop out at that limit. But then it does the same thing, gives you what you're looking for. Same thing here. Let's say you take this trade, it goes off the train tracks. It doesn't necessarily come back. You get stopped out here. And it happens again. Yep, get stopped out here. But it's a little bit more higher probability once you have your footprint, your DOM, pulled up. We'll take a quick peek at Novo and what we have for all of our trades so far. So yeah, as Novo exploded out, I was anticipating it, kind of either going flat or even reacting off of this level. We're hoping that it actually pops to our level here. But as long as it stays above our entry arrow, we are profiting if it goes sideways or that direction. So we'll take it. And then we've got Meta and Qualcomm. So Meta, again, this is a green line where we entered. As long as it stays above that, we are doing sitting pretty. The probability of it staying above that, it's anyone's ball game right now, 50-50. I'm hoping that these levels kind of hold up, this level all the way over here, but doesn't look like it's held up in the past. I mean, it's held up here, here, and reacted off of there. So yeah, this zone If it stays above that, awesome. But you know, I'm not looking for too much here. If it stays above today, then yeah, we'll keep the trade on. But if it starts trading below that, we'll go ahead and let it go and lick our wounds there. So we also have a flurry of activity for Qualcomm, kind of going drifting sideways, kind of where we got in. Qualcomm where we got in, you know, if it's going to mill around here, good. Our stop out is at the swing high, last pivot high. So it would have to get all the way back to above its opening price for us to go ahead and let it go. And then JP. We're watching JP. JP was probably the cleanest trade of the day. We didn't take this, but let me show you why I think this would be the cleanest trade. So if we come on this side here and we open up JP, JP changed pre-market, and then in I guess pre-market also it went blue. So at the open in this nice range, any break above that would probably be giving you your bullish signal, because this was already because the pre-market range was already established. The pre-market range being we'll draw it out here for you guys, but I'll just go ahead. You can barely see it, but it is here. So there's some price action here, and then the low price action is here. So yeah, you got these little blips here. So this one would come up a little bit. Cool. There's your pre-market range. So anything above that pre-market range, it almost will tell you, hey, yeah, this thing's probably gonna break. It actually retested. That would have been your a very nice entry to get in like the first 6 minutes of the market for sure for JP Morgan Chase to go ahead and trade to the upside, especially the way we're trading it. So shout out to JP. Yeah, really nice push off that range. Resistance levels, I guess, are, you know, it's already broken above this pivot low. So if it maintains that, maybe rotates up into 199.35. So shout out to JP. We also have so we'll close the early TE. We'll go look at the trades and see what's winning, what's losing on the day. So big watching the video because we want to get in those leaps, right? We talked about that in the weekly updates from the video from yesterday. And as you can see, the video is basically kind of taking a tumbleweed to the downside. It also means that the Qs are kind of got hit pretty heavy, but has since bounced off this weekly resistance. So I wouldn't necessarily brace for them to get above that, and we can go look at what that looks on the weekly chart here. Yeah, getting below that weekly, you know, you could almost say, well, we could hedge against a potential drop. That actually wouldn't be a bad idea, considering it popped up to the 3 ATR level, and you could potentially get a nice risk to reward for from here to here. That wouldn't be too bad, considering Qualcomm is struggling, the XLK is struggling, the Qs are struggling. So that could be a possibility. You see AMD, Nvidia, all the high tech stuff is looking kind of like it's in getting hit today, except for, like, let's say Apple and Microsoft are doing just fine. What's going on with that? So yeah, Apple did have a little bit of early dip, but has Microsoft had a little bit of early dip, but has since approached highs. So shout out to Microsoft in strength. If it wasn't Qualcomm, it'd be Microsoft. So it's something to think about. And then you have Apple. Here we go. So Apple, So at the end of the day, I guess this might have been news or whatever. Massive drop in Apple. So what's going on with Apple? Apple's moving one of their factories in China, the Foxconn, one of their manufacturers that assemble Apple parts. They're moving that factory to like India and Vietnam. So that's not exactly the most streamlined of processes. You gotta get people trained up, and you gotta move equipment. So their supply chains will be affected. Now, is that what this is? No, that's just like a little backstory. But on the day, Apple's kind of weathered that with a nice, juicy rotational zone with the two standard deviations essentially on both the high and the low side. And it's broke out of the high side two standard deviations to go imbalance. So if you can maintain that, it might be able to close that gap um, to the upside. And our big boy Tesla, we like Tesla, right? Weren't too fortunate with Tesla, but what I'm noticing here is with the massive amounts of orders being recalled, fundamentals for Tesla are not being recalled, but sales being down. Uh, Massive amounts of sales being down for Tesla, and they're really cutting their prices a massive amount. Um, this could drive demand for Tesla. That's why we're watching it now. You do get a nice juicy golden cross here, um, and unbalanced volume is still green. So that means there's still demand out there for Tesla, um, at least in the shares department, and the expansion contraction is still negative. We'd be looking for it to break out of this range. We did take this trade, remember, to see if we can actually break out of this range from this buy trigger. Um, but it has since just kind of just maintain this rotation. So if it's going to maintain the rotation, would look to take that until the conditions actually change for that. Lily, we love us some Lily. One of our biggest trades was of all time was done on Lily, and I mean I don't really know what to tell you. It's in the stratosphere. It doesn't look like it wants to come down. Um, so yeah, if it's let's go look at the daily here. From a daily perspective, it's like right on target, kind of hugging that 8 period moving average and 3 ATR zone, which means it's basically just trending upwards at a nice steady pace. Now, since it hit highs, we marked that up, but it could since break highs. Because it tested this level multiple times, this is just the next rotational zone. But if you consider basically 3 weeks, essentially, of multiple 4 weeks, excuse me, of just steady, slow, very slow grinding on the daily, there is a lot of demand for E-Lily here. A lot of demand. Novo is in that same kind of, they do kind of the same thing. So maybe there is an increased demand in the market. Um, Increased demand in the market here. But Nova has a little bit more room to the upside. And it was a hard toss up between Novo Nordisk and E-Lily. We picked Novo because the contracts are a little bit more affordable, but they're in the same space, right? Weight loss, which is really good. Really good company too. Take a peek at Amazon here. So Amazon wanting to test highs again. We do have an alert for a breaker high. What ideally we'd want to see is a breaker high and a retest of that high. So. And if we go to Market Watch, I think we had a trigger fire on Novo and a trigger on TGX. Interesting. So we did have a fire on TJX, excuse me. Breaking highs. Crazy, dude. breaking highs. That is in freaking insane. Well, shout out to TJX. So there is plays in the market. It just like, hey, are you able to find them? What's in the actual juicy trend? The trend's your friend. It's basically Hull's been moving up for 7 days. Stayed neutral basically for 3 days, and then Hull went green here and has been since green for a longer duration than what was expected, man. I mean, it's just breaking through highs. So shout out to it. So we got some other things developing on the other side of the house. If you notice, Qualcomm has since kind of tested our entry area and is continuing to trade down. Nova, we're staying above our entry area, but is looking to test it. And Meta here, kind of, if you remember our entry area, it is getting down to our entry area. So not looking to hold on too much for Meta. And if it, we'll watch it a little bit more to the end of the day. What's the plan for Meta? Let's go over here. We'll go take a peek at the Meta plan. The Meta plan, right? So on the daily, right, if you notice, we were able to roll and take some profits off the table. But let's say, for example, you treat this as a brand new entry. We're going to hold it even through a little bit of the pullback because of the 21.8 here. This technically for Meta constituted a 3-day buy trigger. So you're like the stop loss for Meta technically, like if this was an entry, even though this isn't a trigger entry, if you use this as an entry, this would be your stop loss, right? And it would have got stopped out Friday. Now, seeing that it rallied and broke highs, like that actually is a daily trigger. So what we'll do is we'll say, okay, if you break low, we'll let you go. By that time, it'll probably almost be as good as worthless. But just so we have something in place to save what profits we can, every dollar counts. We'll set that plan into motion there. Last pivot low for sure. And then this break high is good. So good plan. We'll see if it plays out. We're all in on Meta for sure. Oh, and BA, what's going on, BA? All right, so on the daily, it's not looking like a buy. It is looking like it wants to react off this intraday or intra week, I should say, rotational zone. It does seem to like to react off that middle zone, kind of like a fair value bounce. But if you look on the weekly, we'll zoom out here. Not looking too hot for the stock, right? A break below here would have got you a sell trigger, and it's not out of the woods yet. Unbalanced volume is basically participation in Boeing is relatively low compared to the average. So if it can start to pick up, maybe it's a buy, and then also expand your contraction if it goes green, maybe. And it's a big maybe, man. Very, very big maybe here. So anything can happen. So we'll see. We shall see. But yeah, if you guys are tracking, me and Q are looking to get into some Boeing here. Now, other developments. So I'm watching like both of these charts here, right? So this is the reason why I wanted to put this indicator down here to see what the relative volume is. We have it. We have the, like, if you look on the back here of the Leviathan volume bars, basically gives you R vol relative volume. And why is that important? Because if you have volume above normal on a certain candle, if somebody gets off sides on that over the normal volume, it could spell despair and them closing their positions, wanting to get out before it runs against them. And you're kind of seeing that. So this red candle here, right where my little finger pointer mouse is, that candle has triggered on the red side, but now it is above it. So that means that as these people get offsides greater than normal, this could potentially trade against them. Now, there is still resistance here and there's still the open here, but as it trends sideways, it has more of a probability of, as long as these people are offsides, it has a lot more probability to work against them. It's XLF. Let's see what's going on XLF. Yeah, so it's just something to watch. Massive amounts of selling, and these guys are offsides could mean that the play might not work. And we have our stop up here, so it gives us plenty of time to see if it'll work out. We did get an alert there, if you heard it. We did get an alert on XLF. On the weekly, you're looking at a buy trigger, so we're going to go ahead and take that. We're going to set up a trade for the XLF. We'll put it for 25 days. We'll get a debit call buy for the XLF. Let's see, buys are on this side for sure. So we'll take a 50 buy and a 20 sell. The closest thing is 16, so we'll take it. We'll go ahead and run it. We'll run like 5 of them. Cool. And we'll launch those puppies. Outstanding. Got filled almost immediately. And then we'll come in here and we will mark up our chart. So why did we take the break? It's not the break of the weekly. That is a bonus for us. That it got above that. For us, the break really is it's a weekly trigger. It's above the previous weeks, above the 8-period moving average as a buy trigger in this high rotational zone. So all 3 of those give us a high likely statistical edge, and then our stop loss would essentially be here. Now we've set the risk to be low enough that if this trade works out, awesome. If it doesn't work out, awesome. Okay, so there it is. Now, as you're noticing, as we come back to take a look at our Qualcomm trade here, you're seeing that it's getting kind of back up to a pivot high. But if you notice, now that it's cleared this candle above average, buying has started happening. So let me see if I can pull this up for you guys. Threshold changes is at 1.3, 2.5, and 3.5 for the color change. What's that mean? That means what's the normal volume per, typically on average per candle. If it's 30% above that, then you're going to print a light green or light red to the upside or to the downside. Right. So the volume for up, for the volume is 1.3 or 30% above normal, and the candle closes above, it'll be green. If it closes to the downside, it'll be red. It's that simple. It's not going to show you like how much. Well, I'm just telling you, hey, yeah, that candle closed up or down. So you're already seeing that the market might sense weakness here. For those who can see that, and have decided to pounce on that, right? Now it works again in the same way, right? If these characters that bought, they get offsides, we could just see it rotate, and they're getting in, letting it rotate to the upside. People get in late, and then they pull a rug from under them. But I don't think that's the case. I believe this trade will actually go against us and potentially stop us out. And that's with the SPY pushing up and the XLF pushing up as well. Now this isn't pushing up, and that's what's weird. The XLK, the tech sector, isn't pushing up. So that's the only thing that's making me say, okay, maybe the sector drags it down a little bit, but I don't think so. I don't think that is going to be the case here. I believe we're going to get stopped out. So we're prepared either way. And that's really the crux of it. We're prepared either way. Novo Nordisk is continuing to stay above our level, so that's good. Meta staying blue, but not necessarily pushing. It already did push. JP Morgan, man, kind of the best pick and the only one we didn't take. We're already in this one. We took Qualcomm, we took Novo, um, JP baby running to the upside. So the good news though is we took the XLF, right? We just took this trade after it ran. So we're looking for potentially after breaking the last week's high and getting out of this rotational zone, we're looking at for it to complete that rotation over the next month or 25 days essentially for that on the XLF side. And it's already had a massive run. I don't think it'll just keep running here, but if it does, awesome. From this push, it could potentially keep running, but I don't foresee that. A slow grind maybe, but not like a parabolic move because it basically broke out of rotation, retested, and said, "Hey, time to go, time to go." Retested VWAP, and then launched. So, and a shout out to the whole moving average. It basically said green and then stayed green. So it'd be a good compass. And giving you like let's say you're a scalper, it'd be a nice juicy little pull out right here at the level, right here with the hole. There's definitely a fight on Qualcomm for it to stay even. Um, Pull it up for you guys, and we'll go widescreen here. So yeah, you're seeing again more buying pressure stepping in here. But if these guys get off sides again, um, grabbing liquidity from them and taking it to the downside is good. So the point, what I'm saying here is, it's kind of an indication for you to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. If there is a resistance zone and people come in and try to buy late at the resistance zone and they get off sides, there could be potential to catch them off sides and you take a play against what everyone else is doing. That's kind of what hedge funds do. If everyone's going one direction, they're going to try to take positions the opposite direction and play on your emotions of it going against you. If we could do that, um, that'll work out in our favor. Huge selling came in, it went against them. Then huge buying came in, and now it's starting to go against the buyers. So it's just something to think about. The exceptions I see to that is like in the open, right? The open is like, hey, people are just getting in the position. There's a lot of volume there. But as trading goes along, watch what things do at the levels, like after key levels, like you see here. This is buying at key level, this resistance level. A lot of buyers stepped in. More buyers stepped in here, and then it started trading lower, almost getting all of these guys off sides. So it's just something to think about. We'll watch it here for you guys, and let's see how this plays out. If we can get these guys off sides and it really tanks, that'll be magnificent for our trade for sure. Also, the XLF trade that we just entered is still chugging along. We'll show you that real quick. But it's since moved from where we got it at 41.70 and gone up 6 cents. So shout out to us. We're hoping definitely for it to get up into this range here. But remember, we got debit spreads, so we're profiting. And if we're taking some of the what's it called, the theta decay off by selling it at a higher strike. Here we go. So sellers are stepping in on this side. Let's come back here. Sellers are stepping in. Uh, Sellers are stepping back in on this side, and as you can see down here, we're starting to get that higher than normal volume. So there's definitely a big fight going on at Qualcomm to see if they can keep it in this rotational zone. The buyers were not successful in pushing it out of that rotational zone. So as volume kind of steps in here, we'll see if it can maintain its footing to the downside. Remember, we do have a bearish play on, so that's good. It's good for us. We'll pull out here as you can see. Novo, what's up, buddy? Kind of retesting our entry level. So that's doing its thing. JP Morgan Chase and the XLF absolutely going bonkers. You see JP Morgan. This is a very most people should know what this looks like if you've watched the channel or you studied patterns, right? You're looking at this, and you're like, oh yeah, we know what that is. And for those who don't, I'll mark it out for you. So you've got like some resistance here, and then you're seeing it here, right? So this is pretty sweet if it can actually push out of there. Nice resistance, one, kind of half, two, three resistance, and then slow buying pressure on JP. That was gonna have a pretty nice even follow-on effect for XLF. XLF and JP. JP is one of the larger inside of the one of the larger companies inside the XLF, making up the XLF. So any kind of like ascending triangle in JP is really going to do bode well for the XLF. And so let's go see, since we're seeing this real time, let's go see if we can pull up the XLF real quick and on our charts. You can see kind of what's going on in the XLF. Right, so we got our entry over here in the main XLF on the weekly. If you're seeing a lot of double green, yeah, Berkshire, JP Morgan, as we've been watching, Visa, double green, I think it's Wells Fargo's Chase, double green over here, looking pretty. It's just a quick way. Bank of America even could be a really good buy here. A lot of risk to reward here from it being at all-time highs, and even breaking previous rotational resistance right there. A lot of double green in this sector. So Goldman Sachs also, shout out to Goldman. I just read yeah, Goldman Sachs looking really nice. Man, look at that. So coming out here, breaking highs. I did put a mark here for Goldman Sachs. If it does break that level, we could see it potentially run. So it's already broken previous week's high, and technically gave a trigger. But instead of taking Goldman Sachs, I'm just going to take the XLF overall, because so many of them are doing good, and there's still some room to run on some of them, right? So if this one can get moving, Citi can get moving, where is it? SPGI can get moving, and you have like Wells Fargo, MasterCard is not at highs, Wells Fargo's not at highs, Verizon's not at highs. All of those can surge our play potentially to highs, which retesting highs, which I don't see why it wouldn't do. It's already gave us the same trigger, it tested highs, new trigger higher, and it potentially could test highs, especially with the way the market is and the interest rates. These guys are going to make money hands over fist for sure. That is almost guaranteed. So we'll zoom out of here. Auxiliary is also above. Oh, that's actually good news too. So we'll give us back our. Give me back my setup here. Okay, cool. Outstanding. So XLRE, we're gonna go take a look at real estate and see. We just got a trigger on real estate. Massive pop on real estate. Shout out to real estate. On the weekly, yeah, that's a weekly trigger for sure there on massive buying. I would wait. I just wanted to be alerted if it's actually pushing, which it is, and it's a buy trigger. So let's do this. If it breaks the high, I will take it, right? If it breaks the high, and let me explain why. On the weekly, our unbalanced volume is still kind of below average, even though the trend's changing. And one giant candle isn't enough for me to just say, yeah, gone with the wind there. Now, on the daily chart, you're definitely getting a trigger, but you got a trigger yesterday and, 3 days ago, right? So this was a trigger right here on the daily. Didn't really go anywhere. So I'm looking for it to really break that level. Yeah. Nvidia is breaking or approaching this zone for the weekly. Also, just so you guys can see it real quick, yeah, JP Morgan, nice little push out of that range, nice little slap out of that range. So Nvidia here, we've got it's approaching that level, just slammed into it, and we'll see how it reacts. I want to see if it can get back above its this pivot low here. If you can get back above that pivot low, I want to come back and watch and maybe see if it's going to want to complete the rotation. Maybe give a double green here, double golden cross. If you can do that, awesome. If you can't, it is what it is. But Nvidia is kind of hurting. Maybe some people are saying, hey, it's overvalued, shouldn't have got it. But definitely something we're looking for leaps. Again, if we're looking for leaps on Nvidia and we needed to pull back to somewhere that makes logical sense within technicals. Yes, it did a 10-to-1 split and it expanded out of that up to 140. But that doesn't mean necessarily we're going to take that play at 140 for the leap. So you just want that juicy pullback for sure. Yeah, let's go look at XLF, see how it's progressing. Yep. Slight pullback. So push, slight pullback on the 10-minute. On the 2-minute, basically the last two candles have slightly pulled back. Still well within trajectory. And we have Qualcomm slowly drifting lower, catching those guys off sides. So selling pressure is still stepping in there. And then on the Novo side, our trade is kind of hanging on for dear life there. Yeah, our trade is kind of hanging on for dear life. So shout out to our trades there. On the meta side, it's definitely surrendered a lot of its gains. So as the winds kind of shift around from the tech sector and into like maybe finances and comms for pushes on the day, we'll keep you guys posted. We have our plans in place. This is going to be it for today. So guys, thank you so very much for joining me, and you guys kind of see what's happening. We'll keep you posted on what happened for the rest of today's trades. We're going to be watching those, but we have new trades on for XLF. We also have a Qualcomm trade where we're bearish and an Innova trade where we're bullish. Right now, those are doing good, but we'll see how that goes as it continues on through the day. So thank you guys for your time and expertise, and keep trading, stay strong. And then this is your boy, MC Fire. Have a good day, and goodbye.